Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Gerald here with your weather forecast on this Tuesday, and we've got a lot to discuss today, from a monsoon to severe weather to a heat wave and all of that, with the cherry on top being the tropics coming back to life here as we go into the end of August. So very active period ahead for really the entire United States, so I'm going to definitely break that down for you in this video. Now, before we get to that, though, definitely consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as that goes a long way in helping me out and also just helps the channel out. So again, really appreciate everyone who has already done that and continues to come back every day to do it again. Really grateful for you guys, so thank you so much for that. Now with that said, not going to leave you hanging any longer. Let's go ahead and jump right into your forecast here. And again, right now we're going to take a look at the Atlantic Ocean as well as the continental United States a little bit here. So a lot going on in both of these sectors. We'll start back home. Right now we have a low pressure system kind of spinning away here over really the three corners, I guess, if you will, of Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. Luckily with this, there's actually a bit of a cold front with it. So this kind of area of brighter colors you see on your map here from Virginia down towards Louisiana and Mississippi, that is actually a cold front, and behind that we're seeing much drier air. So yesterday in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I believe the temperature was around 90 with a dew point near 85, which is honestly about as bad as it can get in this part of the world this time of year. So a lot of folks who have been dealing with that recently are going to get a little bit of relief throughout the next couple of days. Now, I do say a little bit of relief because I don't want you to get used to it, because by the time we get towards this weekend and into next week, we're going to flip the switch right back the other way and go right into heat wave mode for an extended period of time. So really get out there and enjoy it with these lower dew points that a lot of us are seeing. Now for the tropics, we have a couple things we need to look at here, specifically back out here in the main development region of the Atlantic Ocean. We've got wave 1 here and wave 2 behind it. Now we really need to watch these as we go through the next couple of days, and another piece of energy out here is going to actually eventually work its way into the Gulf, and we'll call that wave 3 we're going to need to look at. So again, very active stuff, and we'll talk about the tropics here later on in the video, but just wanted to quickly point those out here at the beginning. Now going back here towards home and looking at what we're seeing on this side of the world, we are seeing some pretty scattered showers and storms from the Boston metro all the way back towards Detroit and Chicago this afternoon. And again, all of this because of that low pressure system and that warm front attached to it that is causing a bit of a boundary and allowing these storms and showers to move along. Now, outside of there, further to the south, we have more of, I guess, dangerous might not be the word, but more impressive, I guess, convection is the word to use. So down here from Birmingham to Atlanta, again seeing some pretty strong storms, and as we go through this afternoon, expect that to continue to move eastbound and really engulf much of the mid-Atlantic by the time we get towards peak heating this evening. So again, going to definitely see a lot of those storms fire off, and we have a severe weather threat with that this afternoon that we will definitely talk about. Now the other big story, of course, is the heat and humidity. Now for you folks back into Texas and Louisiana, you'll notice these advisories and warnings have gotten beaten down pretty far south towards the Gulf. So definitely, again, some relief back that way as this cold front has begun to swing through. But for everyone who has not been lucky enough to have that cold front swing through yet, from especially eastern North Carolina down through Florida and through the Gulf Coast, we still got a lot of heat to go and get through today before things improve a bit tomorrow. All right, so talking about the severe weather threat today, we do have a slight risk, which is a level 2 out of 5 here on our map, from really Philadelphia all the way down towards kind of the Greenville and Fayetteville areas of North Carolina. That slight risk. Again, the main threats would be main threats would be strong damaging winds, and a couple embedded tornadoes are possible, but really the winds are going to be the bigger issue today through that yellow area and also that green area that surrounds it. Now, as we go into tomorrow, a new storm system works its way into the country, this time affecting places up near Minneapolis from Minnesota and into northern and western Wisconsin there. Tomorrow we'll have more of a tornado threat than we have in the east today, so definitely make sure you have a way to get warnings tomorrow. But of course also strong straight line winds and large damaging hail are also threats with that storm system tomorrow. All right, so let's go ahead and map this out and time it out for you a little bit with our latest computer model. So again, right now, this low pressure is really what is causing all of this trouble in the east, but also responsible for that relief with that cooler, drier air. So You'll notice pretty defined here cold front and warm front along that low pressure system. So anywhere kind of in front of that cold front and south of that warm front is where we will have that severe weather threat today. So definitely watching out for that as those storms begin to develop and move on through the east this afternoon and evening. Now, once we get into the overnight hours, the severe weather threat will die down, but don't rule out a couple leftover scattered showers through the Appalachian chain and up through the northeast before we get into tomorrow morning, and any showers that are left are likely left up into New England. Now, tomorrow afternoon looks really nice, honestly, for much of the country here in the east. So tomorrow is one of those days you might want to get out there and enjoy it, as it will kind of really be the best mix of comfortable air and comfortable weather. So again, after tomorrow, we're really going to begin to heat things back up quite quickly. Now, also tomorrow afternoon, do remember that this next storm system will move on through the northern Midwest there from Minnesota and Wisconsin. So if you live up that way, make sure you're staying weather aware tomorrow. And then that line of storms will swing on through Wisconsin and into Michigan by the time we get into overnight Wednesday and into our Thursday morning. And we could have a severe weather threat again there into Michigan on Thursday afternoon. And then by the time we hit Friday, expect those showers and storms to once again increase in front of that next storm system through the northern mid-Atlantic and the northeast going into our Friday, although this model doesn't quite go out that far. So again, just be kind of wary of that in the future. All right, so the other really nice thing to do with this are the nicer dew points. So again, right now we're seeing widespread mid to upper 70 dew points into the southeast, but here comes that line of drier dew points as we go through this evening. So once we start getting past the time the sun goes down into the western Carolinas, western Virginia, the Atlanta metro, expect those dew points to begin to drop, and that line of lower dew points will slowly march eastward through the overnight, and by the time you're waking up tomorrow morning in Columbia, South Carolina, up towards Raleigh and through much of Virginia, the dew point might actually be below 70 degrees. So that will definitely be a welcome change from the near 80-degree dew points we've been seeing in this part of the country. And tomorrow afternoon, getting that relief as far south and east as places like Savannah, Charleston, Wilmington, North Carolina, it's going to be tough to get those dew point reliefs quite that far south and east, but I think we'll definitely see at least some improvement for just about everyone. But unfortunately, as we begin to go ahead of that next storm system, you'll notice these dew points once again come back and kind of with a vengeance in a way. All right, so taking a look at the next storm system and what we're going to see after that, which is going to play a big role in next week's weather and cause for quite an active pattern, we'll definitely take a look at here with our jet stream map. So this is that big dip in the jet stream we're going to see with our next storm system that is going to move through Minnesota tomorrow and eventually through the rest of the Midwest and the Northeast in the days following. So that will move on through. Again, that has the chance to bring rain and some severe weather with it, but it's what happens behind that that is going to affect more people on more of a wide scale kind of I guess just a wider scale. So anyway, after that trough moves on through, we're going to see a very big area of high pressure build in here behind that into the south central part of the country. Now, what this is going to do is a couple things that is going to affect everyone here in the lower 48. One, it's going to bring quite a big ridge of just heat and humidity into the eastern part of the country. Now, obviously, that's not going to be fun, but what it's also going to do, combined with a bit of low pressure off the coast of California, is bring up some Pacific air. So you'll notice here as I move this ahead into time, monsoon season is going to really begin to ramp up here into California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, states out west. And as I move this ahead, look at these very strong southerly winds coming off of the Pacific and into the western United States, really helping to bring up those rain chances. So that's definitely some good news for you folks out there who have maybe been wanting some rain to move on in. But for us in the east, we're going to suffer the consequences of kind of supplying you that wind with our lack of wind, all thanks to this big high pressure. And that high pressure looks to hang around for the long haul, at least through all of next week. I would imagine maybe even longer than that. So taking a look at the temperature profile over the next week to 10 days, again, a very above average chance of seeing higher than normal temperatures for this time of the year throughout the entire East Coast, from really Maine all the way towards Colorado and New Mexico. But you'll notice we also have the chance of lower than average temperatures back out here, where we're going to see that very strong southerly flow off the Pacific, bringing in a lot of rain to help tamper those temperatures. Now, as for precipitation, going to be bone dry in the east. So if you're kind of a fan of the rain, get out there and enjoy any rain you see the next couple of days, because next week, looks extremely dry for really much of the Ohio River Valley and surrounding areas. But of course, the flip side of that coin is much above average precipitation out west, again, as this high pressure supplies that southerly flow from the Pacific Ocean, helping to really bring higher chances of rainfall back out that way. So another way to look at this is the expected rainfall over the next week from the Weather Prediction Center. And again, the Weather Prediction Center is not expecting a single drop of rain from right now through the next week for much of the central part of the country. So it's going to be very dry, very hot. Definitely going to have to begin to worry about some drought concerns out here for those folks that are already suffering from it, especially. But everyone, definitely make sure you have a way to water your plants next week and stay hydrated yourself as that heat really ramps up. Now, again, outside of there, down here into the desert southwest, especially on those higher terrains down there, we could see well past 4 inches of rain for a lot of folks, but at least a widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain for many people, which is definitely good and will definitely help to fill up some of those reservoirs out there. All right, so that's the heat, that's the monsoon, that's the severe weather. If that wasn't enough for you, let's talk about the tropics here. And again, August has been one of those months that has already been active, and it is not going to slow up. And the tropics are, again, another one of the culprits for that. So the National Hurricane Center watching 2 areas out here in the Atlantic, and we looked at those earlier on our satellite imagery. But although this is all we have from the National Hurricane Center right now, expect more areas to pop up here on the map through the next couple of days. So one really great way to look at this is from our ensemble members and our models and where they think tropical cyclones are likely to develop. So anything from a tropical depression to a hurricane will show up on this map. So right now I'll start with our GFS ensembles. You'll notice again we already have those 2 distinct areas out into the Atlantic that the National Hurricane Center is watching. So are our ensembles as they're picking up on the chance of this to develop. Now, as I move this ahead into time, again, you'll notice these areas kind of stay pretty far out into the Atlantic for a while, but could definitely in the long run pose a bit of a threat to land. Now, with the GFS, it's been really bullish, not quite on this area or the other area out here, but it's bullish on another area out into the long run. So we also have an area in the Gulf to talk about, but I'll talk about that here in a second. But as we go kind of out to the 10-day period, I want you to watch the Caribbean here on the GFS. And it's been hinting at this for a couple days now, so it's been quite persistent. This isn't something that's just popped up. But again, in about that 8 to 10 day time frame, it shows a bit of energy down here in the Caribbean that could develop and eventually try to move northward towards the lower 48. So you'll notice that down here, you're getting kind of a bit of flow out of the south, and with energy could develop into something on the GFS model. Now that's a GFS. Let's look at our European ensemble members, which are generally also very reliable models. So again, we have area 1 and 2 to look at out here from the European, but you'll notice the European is a bit different with these. It does a bit better of a job on developing these, and it's a bit more bullish with it. So by the time we go into next Monday with the European model, we have likely a disturbance out here, a disturbance behind it, and also you'll notice these L's showing up in the Gulf as a piece of energy will work its way out into the Gulf, and that could potentially form into something. And that's one you're really going to want to watch, and I'll show you why here in a second. But as we bring this out into the long run, again, the euro, although pretty weak with that Gulf wave, does show the chance of it developing into something. But even more interesting is a lot of members developing something that could be considerably kind of strong out here, pretty close to the continental United States, out near the Bahamas, and then again another potential system behind that. And as we move this ahead of time, some members get that piece of energy relatively close to the United States. So definitely going to want to watch that here in the long run. Now, I'm not telling you, you need to go ahead and start evacuating or anything. All I'm saying is keep an eye on the tropics, and I will definitely continue to do that for you as well. And another big reason for that is just how hot the ocean is out here. Sea surface temperatures are very important in forecasting hurricanes, and right now we have literal bath water out here in the Gulf of Mexico. So that's one reason why I'm specifically concerned about that one piece of energy that could get out here early next week, and I'll definitely continue to watch that for you as we see if that is able to get its act together. But even out here, further out in the Atlantic, still plenty warm enough oceans for hurricanes to become quite strong. So definitely need to watch that here in the medium to the long run. Alrighty, so again, a lot going on this August. Definitely make sure you're staying weather aware out there. And of course, as I said in the beginning, one great way to do that is by subscribing, hitting the bell for latest notifications, and hitting that like button, as that will make it more likely that these videos show back up in your feed, so it'll be easier to find them in the future. Now again, with that said, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.